Welcome to With Every Breath, Episode 8, Leading Through Fire, Lessons in Trust and Inclusive Leadership. Take a deep breath with me. Leadership is often painted as vision and strength, but what we don't always talk about are the moments when it breaks you open, the fire, the pressure, the heartbreak of leading through crisis you didn't see coming and carrying responsibility for others while fighting your own battles inside. This episode takes me back to my time as a principal, leading a school through a critical incident that fractured trust, reshaped relationships, and ultimately led to the non-renewal of my contract. It was one of the hardest seasons of my life, but it's also where I learned that leadership isn't just about strategy, it's about people, it's about humanity. And today, I'm joined by Dominique Fishback and Prewitt, two of my staff members, more like family, to reflect on what it means to lead through fire. Leadership is often painted as vision and strength. What we don't always talk about are the moments when it breaks you open, the fire, the pressure. The heartbreak of leading through crisis you didn't see coming and carrying responsibility for others while fighting your own battles inside. This episode takes me back to my time as a principal, leading a school through a critical incident that fractured trust, reshaped relationships, and ultimately led to the non-renewal of my contract. It was one of the hardest seasons of my life, but it's also where I learned that leadership isn't just about strategy. It's about humanity and people. And today, I'm joined by Dominique Fishback and Prewitt, two of my staff members during that time. Also peers, friends, colleagues. We were more family, really, more than just staff members, to reflect on what it means to lead through fire. So I'll let Prue open it up because he's always been an amazing storyteller.
I agree.
Hey, she sound like the student I work with. He always got a story.
Yeah, he always got a story. Let's open this up. Like, let's kind of set the scene for us. Like, what when you think back to our time at LEP, what stands out most to you about the culture, the staff, and the community? Like, set us up for it.
Well, when I arrived at LEP in 2015, it was a mess. It was a mess. It was every person for themselves. There was no togetherness when I got there, and I knew that there were talks of new leadership coming in. And I believed that summer when you arrived and what I call a new team, it gave me a sense of relief because one, you all look like me, and I quickly learned that you wanted the same thing I learned. And it was starting from the bottom, from putting our gym shoes on, canvassing door to door to first try to get kids in. More importantly, listening to community members and stakeholders share that, no, that school has a history. Mm-hmm. So hearing their feedback on how things were prior to our arrival, I knew, okay, whoever's on this team, we're really going to have to work hard to rebuild trust from the community. Yeah. And I was always a firm believer of we get the parents, we get the children. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we worked hard to do that, start having community events and so forth. And it was hard work, day in, day out, countless hours. Mm-hmm. Making them 6:30 a.m. meetings. I was concerned, but it just felt like this is the price that we had to pay.
It was necessary.
It was necessary.
It was necessary. I think the team that they assembled, the leadership team that they assembled at that time was the only leadership team, at least within the organization, that I felt was appropriate for that school and that culture and that community at that moment. Fishback, as a teacher coming in, so what year were you there the first year? Remind me, what was it like walking into so Fishback was a star teacher. Yeah. He was really recruited
Right.
I feel like we went and stole you.
That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Signed free agent.
Yeah.
Right. Y'all funny.
I have worked with Fishback at a prior school, and just a star teacher. I always considered him like one of my proteges.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What was that like coming into the school for you?
To be honest, because it was unexpected. Because I know you and Dr. Larkhart at that time, you all had spoken, with me, because we was in the midst of trying to open up Euclid during that time. That was the summer of 2016, so I wasn't there 2015 because I was still at UCP. So coming in, like I had prayed about it, thought about it, and it's like, all right, this is where you're supposed to be at. And to this day, I always said that, it was a great team. Like, we could have done something great. I believed in the vision that you and Dr. Larkhart had set out, because I'm a believer. It starts from the top, then it goes, it trickles down. So the culture that we had, I felt like it was great. We was off to a great start. Prewitt in place as the dean. I can't remember if it was somebody else as the dean, but we just had a great culture from not just the staff to even the families, the students as well, because that plays a role in the culture, in my opinion, as well. And as you said, it was a lot of reshaping that you all started from 2015. And then when I came in 2016, like, okay, I see the vision, because unfortunately at that time, the school had a negative connotation. Mm-hmm. And so that's, even for me, just being vulnerable, it's like, this school got this type of connotation. So me being that age at that time, you thinking you got, I don't want to say negativity, but you got this certain picture in your head, like, okay, maybe I need to be this way. But I can honestly overall say, like, we had a phenomenal team, and I honestly, even to this day, but I mean, everything happens for a reason. I felt like we could have did something great. We could have did something great.
Yeah, so I think that the thing that really stands out to me in terms of the team was the passion. It was so much love and passion and dedication and commitment, so much willingness. Teachers, the leadership team were so willing to come in and, do their very best to be coached, to receive feedback. And that's not like easy to find. Like, I've been in several buildings, worked on several teams, and everyone's not receptive to feedback. A lot of people don't lean into growth, and I feel like the team really leaned into stretching themselves in order to be able to give the kids, what they really needed. And for that, like, I was very, very grateful for. And we were, so we're going to move into like this critical incident, and then so we can get into the nitty gritty, because the episode really gets into trust, leadership. I think more than ever, like right now, the personal elements of what people go through in relationships is within the work environment. We don't like to talk about it, but it's a factor. What you go through, what you bring in, how we manage these types of conflicts that arise, it impacts like the ability of the team to go forth and continue to be do well, in the service or what they're doing. And so we were gearing up. We were having some success in terms of the instruction in the class, the culture, the community buy-in. We were turning things around. And then one day, there was a critical incident that was reported. Came to me from you, Prue. I'll never forget walking into the building and I'm saying, he called me Sizemore, I got to talk to you. Like, come up here to the office. And without rehashing every detail, how do you think, Prewitt, and then I'm going to come back to you as a teacher.
That's fine.
How do you think that incident impacted the trust and morale within the school?
Oh, my God. I remember having to share with you and I discussing, okay, next steps. What should we do? This is what needs to be done. Having to carry on business as usual without letting any detail get out to the staff, that was the most challenging part.
Right, because we had always been open
We
and
always been
transparent.
open, transparent about what we were doing, what was going on. It was like no secrets or anything like that, not from the administration team that we had. But at that moment, I said, oh, Lord, I gotta figure this thing out. And, you know, certain details, I knew once we were all mandated reporters.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first thing that came to mind. And I'm thinking, okay, I know at some point this call is going to have to be made. I need to share with my colleague.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I said. I need you to come to the office.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to believe this, but hey, this was just brought to my attention, X, Y, and Z. What do we do?
And I was conflicted, and this goes back to that relationship and trust on two levels, because I was his protege in a lot of ways. He was more than my supervisor, you know, the head of the school. He was like a mentor to me. He was one of the first people that put me in position to be able to develop my leadership skills. And because I had went through like a lot with that organization prior to that. I had been let go like the year before. He brought me back. He brought me back and believed in my passion for kids and my skill level in instruction, and poured into me in a way that I hadn't had from a mentor and from a supervisor before in terms of my leadership skills. And it was hard. You know, it was hard having to navigate the emotions of somebody that you were close with, but also having the responsibility of being a mandated reporter and having to first protect the students and the integrity of what we were building in the school. So we had to kind of, you know, remove that personal piece from it. But it's still in there, you know, the whole time. And, you know, Fishback, you know, I've always led with the open heart, you know, when working. What was that like for you being a teacher, and just kind of walk us through that moment, how it felt? What were you thinking? What was going on within the staff as this happened?
I mean, to be honest, it's like what in the heck is going on?
It came out of nowhere,
it came out of nowhere, because you're expecting one thing. It's like, hey, you know, we was expecting this dynamic duo, or trio rather, to be, this vision again was set out, this mission was set out, and this is what you're expecting. And then now all of a sudden it's a left turn that you didn't expect, and now you're trying to process, as Prewitt shared, as, okay, how is this going to look now? Is there going to be, what is this shift going to look like? How is this going to affect us as a staff, and then even trickling down to the kids, because that's the first thing that always comes to mind is the kid. As an adult, you know, we're trying to figure out how to manage our emotions or manage, you know, our mental state. But for a kid, that's something that came, you know, definitely something that was at the forefront, you know, with the staff as well. How is this going to impact the kids? And well, let's put again, you know, we're making so much progress, as you stated. Now, is this going to put a setback and giving the school a negative connotation? Because it's like one person mistake can label, you know, a whole school, and that's not necessarily, one mistake doesn't define, you know, a school building. So
based off what you were told, did you trust? Did you trust the amount of information that you were given? Did you trust that what we were telling you all was true? Was there, you know, questions around like what was being communicated? Like, how did your belief in the leadership team change as a result of that?
Can I answer that question?
Yes.
That's a great question, because you guys have to remember, I wasn't from that, I'm going to call it the circle. You all knew him prior to me.
Yes.
And
Right,
so,
right.
like, there was a sense of loyalty before I even arrived to LEP, you know? And that was one of the things that I thought about, like, oh my, we got Fishback in the building, and, you know, some others that was still affiliated working with us that had worked with him. I had to really contemplate the process and what this looks like, But I think one of the best things that Dr. Sizemore, you and I did was say, we need to go to him.
Yes.
And we took it. And because we took it to him, I think that was the best decision we could have possibly made in that moment, because the leadership that we were able to experience from him, through him, it gave us the trust we got to be.
It was remarkable.
Yes. Yeah.
The way he handled it, it was remarkable. The strength, the humility, knowing that, there was this, accusation that to this day, we don't know what was true and what was not true. All we knew that there were relationships, there was belief in each other, but we also had a job to do. And Prue, myself, and him, we all just went into, okay, this is what has to get done. And that moment, taking it to him and him showing up that way, really, I think, gave us the strength and the confidence to lead the school through the year and do what we did.
He was teaching us.
Yeah.
He didn't realize. He taught us how to deal in adversity.
Yep.
And we were at a building that already carries so much adversity.
Yeah.
This was just an added piece to it, added level, or should I say surface to it, that we had to unpack, because we was on a journey. We were trying to create an oasis in the desert.
Yeah.
You understand? An educational oasis in the desert, right? So it was frustrating to learn, saddened, confused, but quickly I think he was able to reiterate the trust that we worked so hard to gain amongst each other in that building. So I was very grateful that I had you guys as leaders, because one of the things you were able to teach me, that I don't know if I shared, was how to be a lifelong learner, what that meant. You took me, a cultural person who started with a juvenile background, coming from Harper High School in Chicago, South Side.
You always go throw shots around.
You gave me a curriculum lens, or taught me how to look at things through a lens of a teacher and that of that nature. So you were making me well-rounded to work in education, to broaden my skill set. So that leadership was just golden in ways, and it reigns supreme still to this day, because some of what I experienced, our leaders lack. You know what I mean? So I just leave it right there.
So
But
go ahead.
And I want to go back to answering, your question about, what was you had said?
The shift in
The
trust.
shift in the trust. So, of course, repeating what I said is like, okay, what's going to happen next? Because knowing, you gave that background info that, hey, they had let her go the prior year. And so, I hope, I can just speak for me per se, and even speaking with some other staff, I'm like, man, I hope they don't let Sizemore go this time. I said, she is really a genius. No, they don't. I hope that they don't make that decision, because if that happens, it got me wondering, okay, well, I don't know if I want to exactly, stay here, because people, they bought into you and him at that time. And so when you all, told us, because I know you mentioned something about, did we believe or did we trust? What was
being communicated?
Yeah. So for me, from the prior relationship that was already established, because we all had worked with each other prior, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna trust what they say. It even speak with a few colleagues at that time. I'm like, hey, yo, let's trust what they say. And I've worked with Sizemore, she's never went left field or steered us left field. So let's just trust what they have to say, and we're just gonna believe in their vision. They're gonna carry on the vision.
Yeah. So
giving Sizemore credit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Giving Sizemore credit was them admitting that they were wrong.
Yeah.
So they didn't always want to give Sizemore credit
Absolutely.
for the ideas, but Sizemore was the driving force behind what we were doing. So they weren't going to admit they were wrong.
Yeah, I remember it was like a joke. They would the staff would say, "Yeah, Dr. Lockhart the head, but Sizemore's the neck."
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
No, but that's facts.
Yeah.
That is.
You had the face of the school, but you really
It was I'm so grateful. Like I said, just being able to, have that position and be able to work with the kids and have that impact and with the staff, like that's what it's all about. So let's move the conversation forward because you both are in leadership. Prewitt's been in leadership. He taught me a lot of what I know about managing and being in leadership. And then Fishback is now in leadership, which I'm so happy to hear because I always knew that you were going that direction. So one of the things that I'm curious and really wanted to hear y'all perspective. So you had that moment. You're both well deeper into leadership now. Kind of talk to me about what you learned from that moment related to how you build trust in your staff, how you support people who are shining stars or not, or like in terms of professional development, like where do you stand in terms of like balancing organizational expectations, building trust with staff, being transparent? Like how do you all navigate that like right now?
You want me to go? You want me to go first? So
Absolutely.
that's a lot to digest.
Where do you start like connecting with your staff and building trust? Like what do you do to make sure your teachers or your staff or the people that you support know that they can trust you?
I think my personality has always been one. I'm always just been myself. I can honestly say,
Being authentic.
it's just very authentic. And of course, you do like your traditional, hey, getting to know you activities. But outside of that, which is something that I learned just over the years watching other leaders, like I'm actually taking the time to talk to you. So aside all of the academic things, the culture things that we have to know, like how are you doing as a person?
Do those things matter? Do you think that matters?
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, I believe it matters. And it's even like recently, like one of my teachers, like her husband just went into surgery. And it's like, hey, Miss Such, how did the surgery, how did everything go? Oh, well, I appreciate you, Mr. Fishback, for asking because some people don't. And so those are the little things that matters. You just checking it, even if they're, I'm just big on relationships, just having those conversations, getting to know you. I'm letting you know a little bit about me as well. And it's not a show. I'm not just putting on a show. This is the authentic Mr. Fishback. He genuinely cares. And it's so hard to explain, Dr. Sasbone, how I just really, I don't know. I think just being my
Being your authentic
self,
Yeah.
that's the best way that I can put
That's
it.
how you that's the basis of the connection. Like if you're not yourself and you don't feel comfortable with yourself, it's kind of hard to connect with people. And if you can't connect with people, it's kind of hard to support them and be able to develop them because you can't relate.
Yeah.
You got to be able to relate on to help someone grow, which you got to help teachers grow, you got to help people grow, to help kids grow, you got to be able to relate to them. You have to be able to connect with them.
And that's absolutely true because I remember doing a PD one time and we don't sometimes realize, like if you're not getting to know your staff, what you just mentioned. So sometimes you don't know what they got maybe going on. I'm not saying it's their job to tell us everything that they're going on personally, but if you got a good idea as to a person's background or what they even may be currently going through, it kind of helps you with navigating, okay, how do I have this particular conversation, this coaching conversation I need to have with this particular teacher? So again, that relationship building is everything, and getting to know your staff is everything. And then they have to see that you're genuinely authentic and you genuinely care. Like you're not forcing it. It just naturally happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, years ago, I learned that relationships are the baseline to part of the success of what we do. So for me...
and you do really well at that too.
That's why I'm smiling because I'm thinking in my head, I remember I was told I smiled too much early on. I can't change who I am.
Yeah.
Right.
But how do I be a professional and utilize my personality as well to let it show or shine? I've always been the same, and I'm taking it to my grave. With my staff, I try to build trust with them by speaking with conviction. knowing what you talk about. But in order to get to that point, you have to have done your research or your work. So I have to make sure I know what I'm talking about before I go before them. And that's a start. And not claiming to know everything, but always guaranteeing and reassuring that I'm going to get the answer for you, or I might point you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
I'm always working to strive for perfection, or should I say, you strive for excellence or perfection, you bound to fall in excellence,
Yes,
right? There it
yes,
is.
yes.
But I try to be supportive in a lot of little ways, because the little things matter the most at the end of it. And you know, I've always strived to be a team player, not just saying that, but just fitting in where we need someone the most. And that's been most of my success, you know. That's how I've been able to blend. I've had, oh my God, 4 principals in the 5.5-year stint,
Wow.
you know. And so not everyone can say, hey, I work with, you know, these many principals in a short period of time, you know. But for me, that's been my educational journey.
Yep.
I've been able to adapt to whatever principal comes in, what leader comes in, you know, to hear their vision. You know, I may not always agree with it behind closed doors, but when I walk out in front of everyone, they'll never know that we differ.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Like, I think about just, you know, the responsibility, you know, of leadership. And I remember Lockhart used to always say, don't sit in that seat until you're ready. You know, don't sit in that seat, you know, until you're ready. But I don't even know if you're ever really ready. It's like you come equipped with some knowledge and some skills. And then a lot of it is developed like on the job, like in real time. You gotta go through kind of trial through fire, you know. That's how it really happens. But thinking about then to now in general, really some broad strokes around how are things getting better? How are things changed? What are some of the most important things that you've learned about leadership, like over your time in education so far?
Education is the evolving door. So you always have to be prepared for the changes that comes along. You know, one year you can find yourself full of resources. The next year you working with very little or limited resources, limited staff, number of staff, etc. However,
Do you think things are getting better, or they're at a standstill, or?
you know, I'm going to say, based off of our experience, that's going to be building the building.
Yeah.
That's building the building, because nobody believed in what we were doing
Yeah.
until they saw it,
Yeah.
until they experienced it. You know, they were going based off history and what they've known or learned or heard or seen, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm going to say building the building. Now, if I say nationwide, yeah, we have a huge problem right now. We really do. But we have to stay steadfast on this journey, because learning should never stop. And we have to keep striving, or to reach goals, measures, whatever that might be.
Absolutely. And because if we give up, I don't, 'cause technology is doing a number on, you know, the kids. I saw some data the other day around reading scores in Georgia, and it was just so bad. How are things going? You know, what do we think? Are they getting better? Standstill? What do you think?
You know, that's a great
Mm.
question. So I get mixed I get mixed feelings about the state of education sometimes. Uh, I really feel things are maybe at I want to say maybe a standstill is my best answer right now. Um, Especially with everything that's going on right now. And as even when you mention, when you're looking at data, like with the reading scores, even like right now with the district, like when you look at the math data, it's like, yo, we are really at a standstill and we're trying to figure out solutions. And something I always tell my staff, the biggest push right now that I believe will help move the needle is we have to, especially with our inner city babies, it's the buy-in from the parent. So we get the
Absolutely.
buy-in from the parent, and believing in the mission and vision, and them believing that we honestly and we genuinely care, and we're trying to, we're trying to do something different. If we get the buy-in, then I feel like it's a domino effect because the parent holds so much. They don't realize that they hold so much power.
Yes.
However, us as educators, we do hold a lot of power as well because they're with us X amount of time. They are with us majority of the day as well. However, everything still starts from home, and the buy-in starts at home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that. It all goes together. The culture, the community, the home life. You need all of those pieces for a child, for a student to really be able to grow and thrive within their learning environment. So I have a lot of takeaways from this conversation. Just I think the thing that sticks out the most is the importance of authenticity that both of you all shared in terms of like how you connect and build relationships with the staff. Open communication, and really being genuine when trying to learn, who your teachers are and who your staff is, in order to bring out the best of them. What do you hope other educators, leaders, or listeners might take away from hearing this story of how, you know, shit happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit
Man.
happens, and but you got to keep moving forward. You have to trust, in when there are critical moments that you can make it through, and there's going to be something on the other side. I know, like for me, I think I was like in a state of shock for about maybe a month, because I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming that they would not bring me back. But in hindsight, I understand now that it was a setup for something greater, because
Mhm.
I've been able to spread my wings a lot more in terms of like the influence and the impact that I have on in the area of instruction and curriculum and inclusive learning. Never in a million years would I think that I would be where I am today, and that just goes back to the trust factor of how, when something happens like that, you have to just really have faith that when you're doing your best, because I know I was doing my best, I did the best that I could in that moment. There were a lot of things that I learned, though, in hindsight, that, I have a greater understanding of the why behind, my contract not being renewed. But it was still about something bigger, and for that I'm grateful for. Any like last thoughts, or what would you want someone to take away, if there's educators or just people in general, about this journey or your journey where you are, that you want to kind of leave with the listeners?
I'm gonna go back to what you said. Some people are, when I reflect back at that time, um, at the older I get, some people are legit just doing their best, and some people are learning and trying to figure it out in that moment. Um, and I know you said something, and sometimes we don't understand until you become in a leadership role of what that of what that feels like and what that looks like. Uh, so what I would say to the listeners as an educator, just trust your leader. And sometimes, at least I've always been open minded, and I like to try to think from both lenses. Sometimes the person is just doing the best that they can. Just try to trust um, in their vision, because sometimes they're legit just trying to figure it out. Um, Build that rapport. Relationships are everything. I'm huge on relationships, because if you build a good rapport with your staff, they will do anything for you. I've learned that in my experience. It may not be in their contract, however, they gonna go through the fire
Yeah,
for you because you have built that trust with them, and they know that you genuinely care, and they can see that, hey, this person's trying to execute this vision because they really care about kids.
absolutely.
And I always think about, if we're on a bus and something happened to the driver, are we just gonna let the bus steer itself? or we're going to try to get behind that wheel and drive that bus
That's a
to
great
safety.
analogy.
Yeah.
That is exactly how I felt during our time. Yes, learn to trust your leader, try to be supportive, also continue to grow as a leader, get the job done.
Yeah.
No matter whatever it takes. You might not have the experience or the education or the letters behind your name, but you've been called and chosen for a reason. You've been
Called
placed
and
in that
chosen.
position for a reason.
Absolutely.
And many are called,
Yep.
but only few are chosen. And for us, we were chosen to do that, that job in that building that year. So, it you just have to hang in there, man. Education is a grind. Nobody says, hey, if you work in inner city education, this is what you need to expect.
Right.
No, I want to be a teacher. I'm graduating college.
Right.
I'm excied. I can't wait to teach my first year, but they don't know what's behind that door.
Right.
But yeah, just hang in there and be prepared for adversity, no matter what it may look like. You just have to be prepared for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much. This was episode 8 of Leading Through Fire, Lessons in Trust and Inclusive Leadership. Thank you so much for being here. When I think back to that season, I remember how heavy it felt. On the outside, I was the leader, the one who had to hold everything and everyone together. But on the inside, I was exhausted. I was showing up every day with a smile, but as I've said before, that smile was often hiding pain, fear, and the weight of survival. People thought I had it together, but honestly, half the time, I was falling apart. Then came the incident that changed everything, a crisis that shook the trust of my staff and put me at the center of conflict. I had to respond not just as a principal, but as a human being. And the truth is, sometimes my humanity showed more than my leadership. When the trust fractured, I could feel the ground shifting beneath me. I wanted so badly to protect everyone, to restore peace, but the decisions I made weren't always received that way. And in the end, the executive leadership team decided not to renew my contract. At the time, it felt like failure. Like all the sacrifices, the long nights, the vision I carried for equity and inclusion and building the school as a beacon of light in the community, it had all slipped through my hands. But in hindsight, I see it differently. That fire revealed my blind spots. It forced me to confront the difference between my intention and my impact. And it pushed me toward the work I do now in inclusive leadership and curriculum design. Hearing both Fishback and Prewitt reminds me of something I wish I had known then. Leadership doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up even when it's messy. I've learned that broken trust is painful, but it's also a teacher. It shows you where the cracks are, where equity needs to be more than a value statement, where humanity has to come first. The non-renewal of my contract felt like a failure, but failure wasn't the end, it was transformation. It redirected me to the work I do now, designing inclusive programs, mentorship, and speaking truth into the spaces where equity and trust are still at stake. I want to invite you into a moment of reflection. Take out your journal and recall a time you led under pressure. What did it teach you about who you are as a leader and as a person? If you don't have a journal, just hold that thought or that memory in your heart for now. If it feels safe, close your eyes. See yourself standing in a fire that doesn't burn. It refines. Inhale courage. Exhale fear. Whisper, my scars are my strength. My scars are my strength. Inhale courage. Exhale fear. Let resilience settle into your energy. As you reflect, rest in this promise. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. That's Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2. Let those words remind you that refinement isn't ruin. When you're ready, you can keep your reflections in your journal or share them with me inside the With Every Breath reflection space. It's a place to process, learn, and lead with integrity together. Take another deep breath with me. In and out. Leading through fire is never easy, but it's in those flames that we discover what truly matters: trust, humanity, courage, and the grace to begin again. With every breath, I remember failure is not final. It's fuel for transformation. Thank you for joining me for this episode of With Every Breath. I hope that you continue with me to the next episode where I discuss the light within.